Ever wondered about your life expectancy? I mean, really wondered. Like peeking into the future, maybe even trying to nudge it in a certain direction. Well, that's what we're diving into today. GB Healthwatch's Longevity100 test. They promise to unlock the secrets of your DNA for a longer life.
It's definitely tapping into that age-old desire to live longer, but with a modern twist.
Right.
Instead of fountains of youth, we've got genetic analysis.
You sent in their booklet, and it's got me intrigued, especially with these two case studies. A 23-year-old already facing heart health concerns and a thriving 101-year-old. I'm dying to know what their genes reveal.
Those cases make for a fascinating comparison, showcasing how genetics might offer personalized health insights. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of those, let's break down how GB Healthwatch determines your longevity index.
Oh,
because it's not as simple as saying long life gene, yes or no.
Definitely. So the booklet mentions they analyze around 30 to 40 genetic variants. Are those like tiny clues within our DNA?
Exactly. Imagine them as specific DNA sequences linked to lifespan in various studies.
Okay.
Some are involved in things you'd expect, like blood pressure and cholesterol, which impact heart health.
Right.
But they also look at genes related to Alzheimer's risk, acknowledging that cognitive health is crucial for a long and fulfilling life.
Makes sense. It's not just about living long, it's about living well, too.
Right.
So they analyze these variants, but then what?
Okay.
Do they compare your results to others?
You hit the nail on the head. They compare your results against a database of other individuals, particularly those of similar ancestry. This provides crucial context.
Gotcha.
Say you have a specific variant.
Yeah.
It might seem alarming on its own, but if 50% of people with a similar heritage share that same variant, it might not be as unusual as initially thought.
So it's all relative.
Exactly.
Your genes don't exist in a vacuum. It's all about how they compare to others in the big genetic pool.
Right.
But how much does this actually tell us? I mean, if our genes were crystal balls, wouldn't we already know the answer?
Exactly. And that's where it gets really interesting and where we need to apply some critical thinking.
Okay.
While genetics definitely influences how long we live, it's not the whole story.
Okay.
Current estimates suggest that genes account for roughly 20% of the variation we see in human lifespan.
Wait, only 20%? So what about the other 80%? What's influencing our lifespans if not our genes? A whole lot, apparently. It's like that saying, genes load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger.
It's a powerful analogy. We're talking about the complex interplay of our genes with our lifestyle choices, environment, and yes, even a touch of luck. Getting a test like this isn't about getting a concrete prediction, but gaining insights that can inform our choices. It's about working with our genes, not just accepting them as fate.
I love that perspective genes is a starting point, not the finish line. Okay, so speaking of insights, let's dive into those case studies. First up, we have our 23-year-old with the family history of heart trouble. What did his Longevity100 report reveal?
This is where we see the potential of genetic testing, especially at a younger age. The report flagged a mutation on his LDLR gene, which indicates familial hypercholesterolemia, or FH.
FH catchier than the full name, for sure. But what does it actually mean for him?
Simply put, FH means his body struggles to remove LDL cholesterol from his bloodstream. LDL is often called bad cholesterol because high levels can lead to plaque buildup in the arteries, significantly increasing the risk of heart disease. People with FH often have very high LDL levels even from a young age, so early detection is vital.
So early detection is key. But his report also flagged a predisposition to high LPA. Didn't the booklet mention that's another heart disease risk? It seems like a double whammy.
You're right, it's a double whammy. LPA is a type of cholesterol that contributes to those artery clogging plaques we talked about. Having both FH and a predisposition to high LPA is like adding fuel to the fire, unfortunately.
Well, that sounds serious. What does the report recommend he do with this information?
The report wisely advises him to consult a doctor, get his cholesterol and LPA levels checked, and potentially explore treatment options.
Oh.
The good news is that medications like statins can help manage high cholesterol. Early intervention and proper management can dramatically reduce his risk of developing heart disease later in life.
It's amazing how much our genes can tell us about potential health risks. Talk about empowering. Now, on a lighter note, what about our centenarian? Switching gears to our 101-year-old case study, what can we learn from her genes? So we've got our 23-year-old taking proactive steps, which is fantastic.
Right.
Now, what about living to 101? Is that just good genes, or is there something more to our centenarian's story?
Her report is almost the polar opposite of our 23-year-old.
Really?
It's remarkably unremarkable in a good way. No major red flags for common age-related conditions.
So she hit the genetic jackpot.
Not quite a jackpot, as we know genes aren't everything.
Right.
However, she does have a couple of interesting variants.
Okay.
For example, she carries the APOE2 variant,
Okay.
which has been linked to a reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease.
Ah, so her genes might be giving her a cognitive edge. But it's not just about Alzheimer's race. What about other health concerns as we age?
Right. Her report also shows no major red flags for heart disease or diabetes.
Oh,
Again, it's not immunity, but it suggests her genes might offer a slight advantage in these areas.
interesting. But if her report is mostly positive, what does it recommend? It can't just be keep doing what you're doing, right?
You'd be surprised. A lot of the recommendations are what you'd expect. Maintain a healthy diet, stay physically active, manage stress. It's the same advice we give anyone, but in her case, it's more like encouragement to keep up the good work.
It's like her genes are giving her a thumbs up. But here's a thought. Could her genes have influenced her lifestyle choices all along? Could those beneficial variants have subconsciously nudged her towards healthier habits?
That's a fascinating question. A bit of a chicken and egg scenario.
Yeah,
It's difficult to untangle nature versus nurture,
right.
but it highlights that intricate dance between our genes and our environment. Both play a role in shaping our health trajectories.
It's mind-boggling when you think about it. Okay, we've explored these two incredible cases, but let's bring it back to our listener. What does this all mean for you? Would you want to know what your genes say about your longevity?
That's the million-dollar question. It's a personal choice, but the key is to approach it with realistic expectations. Genetic testing isn't a crystal ball. It's more like a complex map.
Okay.
It shows you the potential routes, but you still have to choose your path.
It shows you the options.
Exactly. Whether your results highlight advantages or areas for improvement, the power lies in using that information to make proactive choices. It's about taking control of your health, not letting your genes dictate your destiny.
Well said. It's been a fascinating deep dive. We've learned that while genes play a role in longevity, they're only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Ultimately, how we choose to live our lives has a profound impact on how long and how well we live.
Absolutely. And that brings to mind a final thought. If you could design the perfect lifestyle for longevity, what would it look like? What choices would you make starting today to create your own longevity story?
Now, that's a question worth pondering. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.